Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Big Data and AI Toronto 2020 follow-up series. This is the January 28th, 2021 edition. Today we have a fantastic speaker. Today we are going to be having Mark Gamble join us, who is the Product and Solutions Marketing Director for Couchbase. Now, before we get started and I introduce Mark, I'd like to let you know that if you have any questions for the presenter, feel free to ask those questions in the Q&A bar, and then after the presentation, we're going to leave some time to answer questions. That's it from me. Mark, I'm looking forward to introducing you here, so it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you, and the floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much. I'm going to go into a screen share here and get the presentation started. All right, I'll ask my colleagues to tell me if I'm not sharing, but hopefully everybody is now seeing my slides, and we'll go ahead and dive in. So again, Mark here from Couchbase, and for the next few minutes, I'll be talking about Couchbase Cloud, the database as a service from Couchbase. And I'll show you how to get started with this powerful technology, and I'll demonstrate some of the most important features therein. So to start, we usually like to position Couchbase at large. What is Couchbase? Well, Couchbase is a distributed NoSQL database that delivers versatility, performance, scale, and value across cloud, on-premise, edge, and hybrid deployments. And when we consider how Couchbase is different from other modern databases, there are really three key areas where we win with our customers. First, in agility and flexibility for developers. Couchbase accelerates application development by capitalizing on a ubiquitous query language, SQL. It offers full-text search and adaptive indexing, along with seamless data synchronization, all as core features of the software. Customer studies show that these tenets enable a 20% faster development lifecycle for their applications. Next, Couchbase offers predictable performance at scale. The server can handle any volume, volatility, or speed of data, any number of sources, and any number of end users with in-memory dataset process, smart optimization, highly performant indexing, and built-in replication that ensures data integrity and availability. Our customers report that their applications show a 10 to 20 times better performance using Couchbase. And it's the easiest platform to manage for DevOps. Couchbase helps you streamline setup and configuration, take advantage of multi-cloud agility, and really helps ensure availability with 5 nines. That's the coveted 99.999% uptime reliability. Our customers report 37% more efficient database management and 14% lower database licensing costs using Couchbase. So Couchbase Cloud is our fully managed database as a service for Couchbase Server. It offers automated deployment, scaling, failure recovery, upgrades, and backup as part of the service. It gives you unified monitoring and alerting of all Couchbase clusters under management through a single pane of glass. We'll actually see that in a live demonstration in just a few minutes. And this is inclusive of the underlying cloud infrastructure where Couchbase is deployed. We support hybrid cloud deployments from the standpoint of replication. This is the ability to replicate data from self-managed Couchbase clusters into Couchbase Cloud. We also offer, and this is really important, in VPC deployment. It's an emerging deployment paradigm. Your data is in your virtual private cloud, managed and owned by you, and it's encrypted and secured end to end. A little bit about the offering. There's a free trial to allow you to evaluate the service, and we have 2 paid offerings, Developer Pro and Enterprise, and these are differentiated by price and support SLAs. And with these offerings, you get Couchbase Server and management leveraging your cloud service provider, and this enables you to optimize your infrastructure costs based on your needs. And Couchbase, the use cases supported by Couchbase Cloud are all those same use cases that are supported by Couchbase at large historically, the ones our customers deploy most often, such as catalog and inventory management, profile and session management, Customer 360, digital transformation, and caching use cases. This is a common customer use case of using Couchbase as a persistent cache for performance. Couchbase Cloud's differentiators really break into 5 key points. Number 1 is the inheritance of all the capabilities of Couchbase Server, the most powerful and versatile NoSQL database on the planet. All the reasons that customers rely on Couchbase Server for their applications every day come as part and parcel with Couchbase Cloud. Number 2 is about control and data security through in-VPC deployment. And again, this is an emerging best practice that's not found in competitive DBaaS offerings, but it's the primary deployment option for Couchbase Cloud. So without in-VPC deployment, you, the customer, lose control of data security and sovereignty by not being in command of the environment where the software resides. And this could throw you out of compliance with data residency and ownership regulations like GDPR or CCPA or others. So with in-VPC deployment, you stay in complete control of the data. Number 3 is about the ability to control multiple database clusters from a single console instead of managing them as individual entities. Number 4 is the ability to control replication and cloud migrations by taking advantage of Couchbase's hybrid cloud replication capability and our cross-region XDCR, or cross-data center replication feature. And this supports high availability and disaster recovery. And number 5 is really, for some, the most important. It's about controlling costs. Couchbase offers the best price performance and the lowest TCO of any NoSQL vendor for their workloads. In fact, our customer, Facet Digital, told us in our recent Connect conference last summer that they reduced costs by 50% and increased application performance by 1,000% by switching to Couchbase Cloud. Amazing numbers, and they actually presented that at our customer conference. So this is a simplified architecture to sort of show you or depict, if you will, the ecosystem. So that the data planes on the right here represent the Couchbase clusters across various cloud providers' availability zones. And when you create a new cluster, we deploy a Kubernetes cluster within your VPC, along with Couchbase Autonomous Operator to provide management capabilities, as well as a monitoring plane that leverages Prometheus. And that cluster is then automatically deployed across multiple availability zones within the region. And here we see this depicted on AWS and Azure, and GCP support is coming later this year. So the entire ecosystem, as I mentioned earlier, is accessed and monitored through a single plane of management, the cloud control plane. And that's what's depicted here on the left. This is the place where you log in to work with Couchbase Cloud on a day-to-day basis. It's a console that allows you to control everything in your account instance, from user and group management, access permissions, cluster management, monitoring, metering, event management, and more. So getting started with Couchbase Cloud really is just as easy as 1, 2, 3. You go to cloud.couchbase.com, you create an account. This is where you can sign up for the free trial. It's a self-service free trial. We want to recommend everybody take advantage of it. Next, you create your Couchbase Cloud environment. AWS is currently supported. Azure is coming end of year, and Google Cloud is coming, Azure is actually already available, and Google Cloud is coming later this year. Once your account is set up, you spin up your cluster with just a few mouse clicks and you start developing it. It really is just as easy as that. So even though I'm a product marketer, I'm a big fan of live product demos. I'm not a PowerPoint guy. So hopefully nobody wants to just see PowerPoint, and hopefully everybody is excited to see the product in action. So that's what I'm prepared to show today. So we're going to take a look at Couchbase Cloud in action. I'll walk through some basic scenarios to give you a sense of the ease and power of this technology. So to sort of set it up, first we'll take a look at the cloud control plane. That's the Couchbase Cloud console that gives you access to user management, monitoring, and data tools. I'll show you what you need to do to load sample data, how you query it, how you can set up a full text search index. Then I'll walk you through how to enable programmatic access to the data for your applications. And next, we'll take a look at how to get Couchbase SDKs going. In my case, I'll use the Node.js SDK. We'll look at how to set up a sample application and how to wire it up to your Couchbase Cloud account. And lastly, we'll look at leveraging Couchbase Cloud for BI and analytics. And this is where I'll show you how to access data to create a dashboard. All right, so let's get into the live aspect here. I'm going to switch over to Couchbase Cloud. We're now looking at my account. And this is what you would see as well, ostensibly, when you sign up for the self-service free trial. So the control plane here is that single pane of glass for all your Couchbase Cloud management. This is where you control all aspects of your account and clusters, users and projects and activity, billing, support, and the like. This is where you developers can create sandboxes for development projects and create teams with specific access levels and import and work with the data. So we're currently looking at my CBCSS, Couchbase Cloud Self-Service. Again, you can get this exact configuration spun up in just a matter of minutes by taking advantage of that free trial. So I currently have 3 nodes in my cluster and 3 buckets of data. So buckets in Couchbase are analogous to database instances in the relational world. And here we see I have 3 buckets. Couchbase Cloud Bucket is actually created by default when you spin up your very first cluster. It gives you a parking spot for your data. I've also imported, and this is important because you should do this as well, imported our sample databases. So there's beer sample, one of my favorite, love the topic, and it represents breweries and beers across the globe. So it has that kind of data. And there's also the travel sample bucket. And this is made up of airports and airlines, hotels, things of that nature, everything related to travel. So how do you actually start getting data into your Couchbase Cloud free trial account? Very simple. You simply go to import. Simple as clicking a button. So this is where you can actually load your own data, be it JSON or CSV, put it directly into and point it at the bucket that you'd like to put it into. And or if you want to take advantage of the sample data buckets that are already indexed and full of great information that you can start to learn our features with, all you have to do is click the button to import these samples. So here I have the travel sample and the beer sample imported. So let's take a look at working with the data. And I'll query, in fact, the travel sample bucket, again, which contains data on airlines and airports and cities, hotels, all data related to travel planning. So one of the main reasons that Couchbase is such a boon to productivity is that developers can use plain garden variety SQL to query the data, even though the data is JSON. They're JSON documents. So the query language is called N1QL. We call it Nickel for short. And I'm using here one of the best tools that's built into Couchbase Cloud, the management console here. This is the query workbench. So unlike other database as a service providers who make you use different tools and UIs to work with your data, in Couchbase, it's built right in. So here, in fact, I have a simple select statement to bring back all airports from our travel sample bucket. So you can see already the relational SQL-like constructs here. So you don't have to learn a new way to query JSON data with Couchbase. If you know SQL, you know how to work with Couchbase. So here we're doing a select star or select everything from the travel sample bucket, analogous to the database instance, where the document type is of airport, and this is analogous to a table. And then we put a limit on the results. So I'll go ahead and execute that. So this is one of the main reasons, again, that Couchbase is such a boon to developer productivity, because you can leverage these simple SQL constructs. So another unique with Couchbase Nickel is the ability to join across document types. That's something that's not so easy with other JSON databases. So I'll bring up another query here, a bit more involved, but again, leveraging the simplicity of SQL. So here I'll use an inner join to list the source airports and airlines that fly into SFO where only the non-null route documents join with matching airline documents. So that takes just a second to come back, and we get back our result set here as a JSON result set. So the ability to join in nickel statements allows you to create an input object by combining two or more source objects. And again, joins are typically difficult with JSON and NoSQL, if you could do it at all with the other vendors. But with Couchbase, we have nickel. So all of that familiarity that goes with SQL comes part and parcel with the feature. In fact, nickel is the #1 reason that customers choose Couchbase over the competition, because they can leverage their existing expertise to work with the data. So now let's take a look at another feature that's built right in. So much power built into your Couchbase Cloud account. Now I'm looking at the full text search service. So full text search is a way in which you can enable searching your applications against any of the buckets. You don't have to bolt on third-party search technology like Solr or Elasticsearch. Full text search is built right into Couchbase. So suppose I'm using the travel sample bucket as a back end for an application, and I want to enable search on hotels. So people searching things like bed and breakfast or free Wi-Fi or other characteristics can find just the right hotel for their taste in any given city. So adding a search index is super easy because it's built right in. So here I've set the search on the entire document. So I've created a search index of hotels against the bucket travel sample, and I'm looking into all documents of type hotel and only of type hotel. So in this particular case, you can also even be more precise. If you just want to interrogate a single field, you can insert a child field mapping. But in this case, I want to look through every field for anything that matches our search criteria. So we've set the search on the entire document. One thing that's really, really nice about the way that the feature is built in is that you can even test it right within the UI. So in this case, I can search for any hotels that have any mention anywhere in the document about free hotel or free Wi-Fi is what I meant here. But of course, you can see that it very quickly interrogates that and brings back any and all matches. So again, you don't have to take advantage of third-party technology to enable this. So we'll see how this an application can use this search index in just a bit. Another thing I wanted to point out for folks out there that are analysts or business intelligence enthusiasts, your Couchbase Cloud account comes with a powerful MPP or massively parallel processing based analytics service. And this provides parallel data management capabilities, allowing the running of complex analytic queries against millions of records without any impact to overall database performance. So it really means the end of ETLing your data or moving your data into a separate data mart for analytics, which is very time consuming because this is built right into your Couchbase Cloud account. So here I've created analytics data sets, taking advantage again of my favorite database, the beer sample. And I've created data sets on beers and breweries. So just simple examples, but it's very easy to create these against any of your data. Take advantage of this for your most voluminous data because it will really, really speed up your processing for analytics. So Nickel for analytics allows you to do joins across data sets, just like a multi-table from clause in SQL. So you can use Nickel against your analytic data as well. So here, suppose we wanted to list all breweries paired with their associated beers. You can do this using a simple SQL statement leveraging Nickel for analytics. I'll go ahead and execute that. So another nice thing is that you can see the result set in JSON, but it also will nicely put it into this tabular format as well. So we can see the brewer and all the beers that they happen to serve. Straightforward for SQL, but for NoSQL technologies that don't let you use SQL, a little tougher to get this kind of result, but it's a snap utilizing Couchbase Cloud. So with that said, let's dive into some of our use case examples. I'll start with a simple Node.js application that interacts with my Couchbase Cloud cluster. So let's first take a look at some of the data in our beer sample bucket. The reason I'm doing this is because we're actually going to put some new data from our application into the database. I'm going to go from my local application directly up into Couchbase Cloud. But I'm going to look first to see if that Couchbase brewery exists, because I imagine that would be my new favorite place to go for beer. And of course, it doesn't exist. I went to search for it and retrieve that document. It's not there. But that's because we're going to put it there utilizing our Node.js application. So in order to connect from any application or your BI tools, just make sure it's very simple. Make sure to add your allowed IP, and then just grab the endpoint, this endpoint URL. You can just copy it. And that's what you use, in fact, to connect from your BI tools as well as your applications. So finally, as we move into the application, wanted to point out that while I'm using the Node.js app, that's a demonstration of our SDKs, you can use your language of choice. Docs.couchbase.com has a tremendous number of different SDKs and connectors at your disposal that you can utilize. So here we're on the SDK page. You can see there's Java, Scala, .NET, C, Node, PHP, Go, Ruby, Python, and the list goes on. You can accommodate any and every modern language that you might wish to be able to accommodate. So I'm using, again, the Node.js SDK, which has some very easy get started hello world applications, as well as a fully built application. So let's actually go over and look behind the scenes just really quickly at the code. I am a marketer, so I'm not a coder per se. We won't dive too deep into it, but just to show you how easy it was to get this running. So this is a headless application. It has no UI, just to demonstrate the ability to connect and work with data up in your Couchbase Cloud account. So all I had to do is copy the code from the SDK sample, drop it into my IDE. Here's my code editor of choice, WebStorm. And then I replaced the default connection with my endpoint. This is the endpoint I just got off of my Couchbase Cloud cluster, and my username and password. Simple as that to make that connection. And what I'm doing here is opening up the beer sample bucket and dropping in a brand new document, some new data, specifically for Couchbase Brewery, where I give it its ID, its type, and some basic let and launch information. And the rest of the code basically facilitates that. So let's go ahead and upload that. And I'll simply run this, and we get that confirmation that it's uploaded. So let's go back into Couchbase Cloud, and I'll once again take a look for that document for Couchbase Brewery. So we'll say where name equals Couchbase Brewery. And you can probably see where this is going. As we do this, I'll retrieve that document, and there it is. So we just did that live, and it only took a few minutes to set up that sample. So very simple to get started interacting with the data. On the SDK page for Node.js, there's also instructions for installing a fully built application. So again, all built for you. It's on Git. You pull it down, fire it up, and it's running. And it's actually taking advantage of the travel sample bucket. So again, all I had to do to make it run was pull it in, start it up, and then replace that connection endpoint. But here we're looking at the code that's specifically calling the search index that we set up on the hotels, because this application will take advantage of that search index. So here's where we're making that search query for our hotel index, interrogating all of the fields that are found within the hotel document type. Anything that matches the criteria in our search will return the hotel, and specifically the type, country, city, state, address, name, and description of those matching hotels. So very straightforward, super easy to call that powerful functionality in your code. So let's go take a look at our Node.js application. Here we are, CB Travel. It's a fully built application. It shows you how Couchbase can facilitate user management and shopping carts and the like, but I'm going to go straight to our hotel search just to very quickly say, let's look for any, I've done the search a few times here, anything that contains information on breakfast. We want to find the best breakfast in San Francisco. And how quick that comes back because it's leveraging that full text search. We didn't have to put in conditional operators and complex queries. Just call the search index, back comes the information. Very powerful. All right, so the last scenario I wanted to talk about was taking advantage of that analytics service. So to do that, I thought it would be fun to actually visualize the data that's out in my Couchbase Cloud account. So to do this, I utilized Tableau. There's a tutorial on docs.couchbase.com for this very demonstration that I'm showing you, in fact. I use Tableau as well as the C data driver for Couchbase. So let's take a quick look at what that looks like. Just to let you know, behind the scenes, when you get the C data JDBC driver for Couchbase, there's a free download. You can install it. And you just, again, put in your endpoint, username, password, and it builds your connection string for you. So in fact, that's what I've got here. I was able to very quickly connect to my Couchbase Cloud instance from my locally running Tableau. And here's the beers and breweries data sets. It automatically detected and displayed. So I just dragged out default breweries, dropped them here, and it read all of the fields and laid them out for me to start building a visualization. So what I did was decide to have a little fun. You remember we uploaded a brand new brewery, gave it some lat and longe coordinates. And what I have here currently is depicting all of the other breweries that are in the database, beer sample database. And I happen to be zoomed in fact, on my local area. I live in the beautiful city of Carmel by the Sea. So in fact, let's just zoom in a little bit here. And I, in fact, put the brewery where I wish it existed, right around the corner from where I'm coming to you live today. So let's go ahead and actually refresh this data and actually see the occurrence of that. And there it is. It just popped in as I refreshed it. There's Couchbase Brewery. So after the webinar, we can all meet there and have a refreshing frosty cold beer. All right, so we just went through some fun demonstrations. We're for the sake of time, we need to make sure that we wrap up and get to your questions. But I can't emphasize enough that get that free trial and get going. You can do everything that I just did in less than an afternoon. In fact, that demonstration depicts my very first journey on Couchbase Cloud when we very first launched it. And when it's time to develop your own applications, you move to the Developer Pro configuration, which is what I use for the demo, with a 3-node template. And once your apps are ready for deployment, the enterprise configuration, what brings that totality of scale and support to the table. So we've got a plan to support your entire journey from testing to development to application deployment. Customer response has been phenomenal. Facet Digital, I mentioned earlier, presented at our Connect Online conference last summer. And they said, by switching to Couchbase Cloud, we reduce costs by 10x and increase performance by 1000x. Amazing stuff there. So this case study is a great story, and there are several. So as we round the corner to a little bit of Q&A, I hope you enjoyed the demonstration and presentation. Again, take advantage of the free trial. It's self-service. Go to cloud.couchbase.com/sign-up and get it today. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up for a little bit of Q&A in our final couple of minutes here.
Perfect. Yeah. So if anyone has a specific question, again, feel free to put that in the Q&A box, and we'll make sure that it's read out. We do have a few questions ready. The first question is, can you explain the first steps a company needs to take to get started with a DBaaS?
Yes. Typically what we're finding, I'll make this relevant to my personal experience. We're finding folks that are more and more not starting greenfield with DBaaS. What I mean by that is they're considering moving to DBaaS from on-prem from relational back-end data stores. So if that might represent you, it's not as complex as it might seem, because Couchbase Cloud adheres to these relational constructs like SQL and joins and ACID transactions, things of that nature. But what you want to do is examine your existing data infrastructure and understand how it can actually translate directly into Couchbase. Many of our customers actually do an effort of just moving their data from their relational constructs into NoSQL, but kind of maintaining the schema and organization of the data, and then they'll optimize for NoSQL once they're up in Couchbase Cloud. There are there's a lot of great documentation for that, and yours truly did another webinar on exactly what to do. So in short, what you want to do is make sure that you're working with a DBaaS that can support those relational constructs. They're going to make your life a lot easier when you're moving from your on-prem data stores up into NoSQL, especially if they're relational in nature. Great question.
The next question is, what is the cause? What's causing the growth of DBaaS adoption?
Yeah, I think it's really starting to catch on. We're seeing it grow most in small and mid-size business. Those enterprises that are not large enough to sort of have their own giant managed infrastructure. The huge enterprises are a little bit slower to adopt DBaaS because they typically have a giant IT department and have set up sort of their own infrastructure. They're considering DBaaS as well, but we're finding small and mid-size are making the jump to DBaaS because it helps them get more quickly, more quick time to value. They don't have to worry about installing. They don't have to worry about getting the hardware. They don't have to worry about maintenance and upgrades because we do all of that. The DBaaS vendor does all of that for them. So I think there's a huge uptick, especially because of the past year and the world climate and the pandemic have pushed everyone online. And so even the smaller players are seeing a huge uptick in their need to service their online consumers or users. So that's pushing the need to move to cloud. And then the fact that it's all managed, set up for them is pushing the move to DBaaS.
Okay, and the next question is, how do I evaluate if my company is ready for DBaaS?
That's another fantastic question because, of course, it makes sense at any given time to start to evaluate it. But what you need to do is make sure that there is sort of buy-in. You want to make sure that there's buy-in from infrastructure folks, from management, and from senior executives that this is the right way to go. Because that will really break down barriers when it comes to moving and adopting DBaaS technology. So, get your data in order, obviously, as a very first step, but make sure that everybody is fully bought in to the benefits that DBaaS will bring. You put that little bit of extra effort in and make sure that you have that kind of sponsorship throughout the organization that creates a culture that will actually help you adopt and leverage and gain those benefits more quickly and readily.
Okay, was there any other questions that you guys had for Mark? I think that is everything. Okay.
All right. Well, it's been great fun. Thank you. It's been an honor to present today. And again, can't say it enough. Hopefully I'm not becoming too repetitive, but go to cloud.couchbase.com/sign up and get that free trial. And you'll be very pleased with the results.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for everyone attending today. Keep in mind our next webinar series is going to take place on Thursday, February 11th. So be sure to join us for that edition. Again, thank you for everyone joining us, and we'll see everybody soon.
Thanks, everyone.